Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 830 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy visited Singapore yesterday to take part in the security conference Shangri-La Dialogue, reports Ukrinform. He met Prime Minister of Singapore Lawrence Wong and invited him to the Peace Summit in Switzerland. When talking to the media at the security conference, Zelenskyy said Ukraine has so far received confirmation from 106 countries of their attendance at the Peace Summit. But Russia is trying to disrupt the event, reports Interfax Ukraine. Russia is currently reaching out to many countries around the globe, threatening the world with a blockade of food, agricultural products, or chemicals, with energy prices, or simply pressuring other countries not to attend the summit. The president added that some countries have begun to assist Russia in disrupting the peace summit diplomatically. Later, Zelenskyy compared the stances of the US and China regarding the peace summit and stressed that China is working to disrupt it, while the US is trying to help to persuade more countries to go there. He added that Ukraine had invited both Israel and Palestine to the peace summit. Meanwhile, German media Bild informs that Saudi Arabia will not participate in the Global Peace Summit because Russia wasn't invited there, reports TSN. The president of Ukraine also met US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin to discuss Ukraine's urgent military needs, reports Ukrainska Pravda. In particular, they discussed bolstering Ukraine's air defense system, the F-16 coalition, and drafting of a bilateral security agreement. The Ukrainian president also thanked US President Joe Biden for making an important decision to authorize Ukraine's strikes on Russian territory with US-supplied weapons. During a speech at a security conference, Zelenskyy called on the United States to allow Ukraine to strike military targets in Russia with long-range ATACMS missiles. Is that sufficient? No. Why? Because I have given you the example of airfields from which Russia is permanently firing in calm, knowing that Ukraine will not fire back because it has no corresponding systems and no permissions. Unquote. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This way more people would learn about the podcast and truth about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Dmytro Lubinets, the Human Rights Commissioner of the Ukrainian Parliament, has turned to the International Committee of the Red Cross and the UN due to the recently released video depicting the abuse of Ukrainian prisoners of war, reports Hromadske. The video was apparently filmed on the Kharkiv front. It shows beatings, humiliation, threats, and imitation of a shooting. According to Lubinets, such a treatment of Ukrainian prisoners of war is not an exception, but a usual tactic of the occupiers. He stressed that such actions are a violation of a Geneva Convention under which the prisoners of war have the right to humane treatment. Ukraine expects a rise in power outages around the country in the coming week, reports Suspilne. Chairman of the board of Ukrenergo Volodymyr Kudrytsky explained that the deficit in the power system will be significantly higher than last week, so outage schedules will be applied around the clock. There are three main factors that play a role here. First, starting from Saturday, 2 power units of nuclear power plants went into repair. It was a planned process which cannot be postponed. Accordingly, we will have slightly less capacity in the system than before. The second is the 2 shellings over the weekend, which caused damage to certain energy facilities, including several thermal and hydroelectric power plants. This again means less generating capacity. And the third factor is a fairly high air temperature, which is expected on Monday and throughout the week, up to 32 degrees Celsius, for example, in Kyiv. This means that consumption will increase due to more intensive use of air conditioning systems. The deficit cannot be physically compensated by electricity imports from Europe. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We're a commercial initiative of just 2 people, and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.